Bless you, man. You all right?
Maybe have that in the intro, you know?
Yeah, no, that's gross. Hey guys, welcome to the Search for Awesome podcast. This week we're talking about our new audio gear and some mistakes we made last week, the Super Bowl, but not the game, just everything else. And Elon Musk made some big news over the last few days with SpaceX and his boring company.
We're also going to be talking about Amazon cutting ads off of Prime phones, a really nice old school gaming system, Titus's experience at the Harry Potter celebration, and we're also going to be answering some of your questions and comments.
All right, Mikey, we made two mistakes last week. One was definitely your fault, and one was definitely my fault. So one problem we had last week was your audio was a little webcammy. No, it's funny. I was watching your video, and like you had the microphone's top pointed at your mouth, and I think that microphone actually, it's like supposed to be facing you, not the top supposed to be facing you. I think that's how that one works.
Well, it's a condenser mic, so it's yes. It's amazing what you can find out when you do research on it and actually read. See, I didn't do that. I just bought it, and I was like, oh, microphones are supposed to point at your face.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
But anyway, that made me laugh. And so your audio was a little poopy because of that, and that's okay. It's all good. It's first try. But I made a pretty big mistake, and I made your audio quite a bit louder than mine when I was doing the editing. And I didn't realize it until I actually already put it on YouTube, and I was like, wow. So not only did your audio not sound great, but I also made your poopy audio like the center of the attention. Like if you heard me and then heard you, it was just like overbearing. But,
well, I mean, that's because I'm more important. So people want to listen to what I have to say more than what you have to say. So yeah, there's that.
We're being so aggressive at each other. I think what happened is we've been frustrated with we've been trying to work on Google Hangouts and like Skype, and we couldn't get this crap working. So I think we're ready to like be at each other's throats tonight. But anyway, we got some new audio gear. The good news, I think we fixed our audio problems. You got a new mic. I have a new mic. We have the same mic. It's the MXL 770, and we both also got new audio mixers. We got the UMC 202 HDs, and these are like both of these are like, I did a lot of research, and for the quality these things spit out, like they're really good for the money. And like if you compare it to something like Blue Yeti, these actually, I think for the money, they're almost the same price as this, and these two pieces together, and I think they sound like a lot better. Personally, that's just my opinion.
I was going to say the microphone costs about the same as my old microphone, which is the Audio-Technica ATR 2020, I believe. But also, I mean, it's a USB microphone, so it's going straight to the computer. I think actually having an audio interface outside of the computer makes a huge difference, first of all. But I got to tell you, when I was unboxing these, man, I was kind of taken back. Because I opened up the mic and it's got like this little like hard case in there that looks like a Pelican case kind of thing. You know, it was really cool looking. And then I got to the Behringer and I opened the box and there's just a bunch of, like, it's a huge box. Because, you know, the Behringer's only like, it's pretty small. It's like an old CB radio kind of size, you know, but the box was huge, and it just had tons of brown paper in it for no reason. So I'm pulling this paper out, waiting to find this like big, huge device, because I didn't see it. For those of you that don't know, you know, Titus sent it to me, so I didn't know what it looked like. So I'm just pulling this brown paper out, and finally I get to the bottom, and there's this little thing, and I was like, really? Like, really right now? But, I mean, it works great.
Yeah, dude, I'm really pumped about this new setup. So I think this will be our setup for the coming years. What's nice about having an audio interface separate from the mic is if you decide you want to upgrade your mic later, you still have a great audio interface.
Yes.
And it's super clean signal. It sounds really good. One thing we were having an issue with your ATR 2500, whatever it was, is a static. Like it had some static when you were sending me some samples, and this is totally clean. So I'm really excited about these things. Also, I got some big news about the podcast. This is a podcast, by the way, and it's actually in podcast form now. So you can actually get it on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. And if you know of any others that you would like to have it on, just let me know. Send me an email at podcast@thesearchforawesome.com. I figured it out, Mikey. Nope, I said it wrong. Podcast at the searchforawesome.co. That's what it is. Podcast at the searchforawesome.co. So
I like how you were proud of yourself and then corrected yourself all in the same sentence.
All right, man. So let's talk about the Super Bowl. I don't think I told you we were going to talk about this. I don't want to talk about the game, although I really enjoyed the game. The game was incredible.
It was a great game.
There was a lot of cool non-game stuff going on. And one thing was your brother. Tell me about your brother, Mikey.
So my brother got an interesting opportunity. He actually got to be at the Super Bowl. With his current job, he has the opportunity it's kind of like an internship, but not really. He's getting the opportunity to learn a lot from NFL films. And so he actually got to be on the field helping record the game as it was going on, which is crazy. It just blows my mind. I couldn't even imagine being there like outside the stadium because it's so expensive just to even stay in a hotel there. But yeah,
just standing in the parking lot, it's like really expensive.
Yeah, but he got paid to be there. I thought that was pretty awesome.
All right, we're not going to talk about the game, although it was great. If you want to talk about the game, drop your thoughts in the comments, and I will be glad to respond. But really a cool opportunity. Did he say anything about it?
So he's been pretty busy since he got back and hasn't really had a whole lot of time to talk, but he had a blast. Said it was a really awesome experience, and also he got to come across a lot of celebrities. He got to go come across Joe Biden out on the field as they were celebrating when they got the trophy.
Sorry, I think that's funny that you said a lot of celebrities and you said Joe Biden. I was like, that was not what I picture as a celebrity.
I meant like celebrities and Joe Biden, like, yeah. But
I think we're both a little loopy tonight because I'm a little tired. I'm supposed to be asleep right now. Two other things about the Super Bowl, I should say. I don't know if you saw Casey Neistat's vlog, but he took a friend of his to the Super Bowl, which he had done this before. This is a childhood friend of his. And I thought we'd talk about this since we talked about Casey Neistat last week.
Yeah.
But he took his friend to the Super Bowl, and this guy is a massive Patriots fan. And he also took his friend, this same exact friend, to the Super Bowl 10 years ago. His childhood friend. They knew each other growing up. And they took him 10 years ago to the Super Bowl when the Patriots were in there. And that was the year that they had their unbeaten season, and then Eli Manning and the Giants beat them in the Super Bowl. It was their first loss of the season was in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then he took him to this Super Bowl, where, again, everyone expected him to win, and they didn't. So that was, I feel bad for Casey and his friend. If he just took him last year would have been great. He felt like he owed his friend a Super Bowl where the Patriots actually won, and every time he goes, if I'm that friend, I'm not going anymore. I'm not going.
Like, don't even invite me, bro. Like, why?
No, dude.
Maybe his friend is their bad luck charm.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not going to go because they're not going to win. I wouldn't even watch it from now on. I would just watch the highlights on YouTube or something.
Right.
Last thing I want to mention, we watched This Is Us. Have you ever seen that show?
I haven't, but I've been intrigued by it. I've been wanting to watch it.
It's a really sappy show, but for some reason I like it, and Leslie likes it, so we watch it. But it was incredible. So This Is Us had an episode right after the Super Bowl, and it was actually the episode was in the episode's world. It was the day of today during the Super Bowl. So like they're recording this show, and it's like today, which is the day of the Super Bowl or whatever. And then as the show is playing, this is kind of cool. In the background, they had TVs of the game from that Super Bowl. So during the show, you're seeing highlights from the game that we just watched 10 minutes prior.
Oh, wow.
Like, isn't that insane?
That is pretty cool.
I was just like, where am I right now? That was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Like, this is the future.
Yeah, they were showing like different parts of the game, and they were actually making it like part of the show where it was like different points in the game. And like, I understand how they did it, but it's amazing. Like, that blew my mind when I saw that.
That probably took like a lot of care to get that exactly right.
And they had to be like really fast because it was like 10 minutes after the Super Bowl came on. They had to do it like so fast. Well, in terms of tech, it was a light week in terms of news. And then Elon Musk, just wait for it. You've probably heard it about this by now, but just humor me. Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, and I don't know if he's the CEO of the Boring Company. Have you heard of the Boring Company, by the way?
Yeah.
The only reason I heard about it is what he did.
No, it's a freaking flamethrower. Like, who wouldn't want one of those?
So that was the first bit of news. This was like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. The Boring Company released a flamethrower, which is just insane. It was $500. You too can have your own flamethrower. And it like sold out immediately. They sold $3.5 million in sales. I saw it in a video. It doesn't shoot that far. It looks a little more like a glorified blowtorch, maybe like 2 feet or 1 feet or something like that. But I've actually heard that people are wanting to mod it. Let that sink in for a second. That sounds fun and ridiculously dangerous, which is always fun. Like, this is crazy news. And if you told me that if that wasn't the craziest thing Elon Musk was going to do, I would have been like, no, that's insane. Who sells a flamethrower? Yeah. Oh, also, by the way, before I jump to the next bit of news, people have been concerned that Customs was going to get a hold of these flamethrowers and like not let them actually make it to the people. So he tweeted out that he's going to change the name of the flamethrower to Not a Flamethrower. So that'll just slip right past Customs.
They're like, this totally looks like a flamethrower. What is this? Not a flamethrower. Ah.
Oh, thank goodness.
That was a close one.
Yeah, I mean, that would have sucked if we let that slip through. Right? It actually kind of looks like a super soaker to me.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
It totally does, yeah.
Except it doesn't shoot water out, believe it or not. It shoots.
It might cause a little problems at your neighborhood water gun fight.
It's like, what does Timmy have? Like,
Timmy, I don't think that's a water gun. You might want to put that down and walk away.
It doesn't matter what Timmy has. You're about to have 3rd-degree burns, buddy. But I was just like, what the heck is going on? And then news gets crazier about Elon Musk. He tops himself in like a week later. So they launched the Falcon Heavy. This is at SpaceX. So the first one was done by Boring Company.
Yeah.
As a SpaceX, they launched what they called the Falcon Heavy, which was a rocket ship, and it was important for a couple of reasons. One, it could carry twice the payload of some of the rocket competition out there. I don't know if it was like the biggest rocket ever or the biggest payload, but it was really impressive because it can carry a lot of stuff. It wasn't a perfect launch, but it was really close.
Well, it's something they've been working on for a long time, too. Several years in the making here.
Yeah, I did. And another cool part about this is that there were pieces that they are supposed to reuse, which is not normal right now. That's not the standard. Like, whenever they do a rocket, they start from scratch. And so that they had 2 pieces land on a platform after it took the craft into space. But the crazy thing about this news wasn't the rocket. The crazy thing about this news was I don't know if it was on top or on the side or where they put it, but Elon Musk put a 2008 Tesla Roadster.
You mean the car?
Yes, the car. And I haven't heard any word to confirm it, but I think it was actually his car, his 2008 Tesla Roadster, in space. And it's not in the craft. That would make more sense. No, he had a live stream of the car outside of the spacecraft, and you could see...
Shut up.
Yeah, no, I'm dead serious. You could see the Earth behind it. It was incredible. Right now, you're probably seeing it on the screen, this little screenshot. So he said, it looks so fake, you know it's real.
That's crazy, dude. Like, what? Like, why even?
That's what I want to talk about. I think I know why he did it, but I want your take. Like, why do you think he's doing these crazy things with these companies?
I mean, just to prove that it can be done, and just to say that he's the first one to do it. I mean, who's ever released a commercial flamethrower? Who's put a car into space?
Yeah, I know, right? It's
and
ridiculous.
Like, the thing is, as far as I know, I don't think he's like the richest man in the country, but like he's just actually doing things with his money instead of just sitting there holding wealth. Like, I feel like he's like, let's actually shake up the world a little bit and do something creative.
I think you're right, and I also think, for me, I think it's publicity. I mean, that's the thing that makes the most sense because, you know, don't get me wrong, we will talk about a rocket, but we will definitely talk about a car in space where you can see the Earth in the background, and it just looked insane. And it's the first car in space, and I was thought of a new slogan for them. Actually, I didn't. Someone told me this. I'm stealing it. They could say, our cars are miles above the competition.
Our cars are so awesome, they're out of this world.
Yeah, I know, right? So I want to have a conversation about Elon Musk because even though I think sometimes he gets a rap as kind of a crazy guy, and he just kind of looks a little, people credit him with being a billionaire and a genius, but also kind of nuts. And I just want to talk about him for a second. I listened to an audiobook about him And it was a biography about him. Somebody wrote about him, and he's just a really interesting guy. Like, first off, he's brilliant. I don't know if you knew this. He's a genius.
He's definitely genius.
There was this one time, there's this quote from some of his employees where they were basically, one of his like project leaders, I think it was at SpaceX, came to him and said, Elon, we can't do what you're asking in the time frame or the money or the budget. There was something wrong with some project that he was doing. And he basically said, Elon, we can't do this. And then Elon said back to him, get this, he said, fine, you're off the project, and I am now the CEO of the project. I will do your job and be the CEO of 2 companies at the same time. I will deliver it. And then, and what's the crazy thing is he actually, apparently, according to his employees, he would do this kind of stuff all the time, and he would actually do what he said. He would be the CEO of 2 companies and the project and do it. And he was just brilliant.
Like, I don't think that's the response the guy was looking for. You know what I mean? Like,
no. But here's the interesting thing about it. The more I listened to this audiobook, the more I started realizing that he is somebody who is obsessed with not what you would expect. I think he's obsessed with protecting the human race. And I know it sounds weird and it sounds out there, but just hear me out. When AI started becoming more prominent, who was one of the first people to speak out? Do you remember? Do you remember this, Mikey?
No, I mean, that's true. It was Elon Musk. He was the first one to have a problem with it.
For real, yeah. He was like, guys, this is serious. Like, we need to have government controls on this. Like, this could go south really fast. And he, whether you like him or not, or whether you agree with him or not, like, you have to admit that he has a point. Like, Terminator was a movie. It could happen. Like, maybe not quite like that.
I see what you're saying, but I find it interesting that you have that take. But this is also the same guy that just sold flamethrowers to.
I'm getting to that. I
find your take interesting. I mean, no, I mean, but truly though, I mean, like, because I'm seeing a guy that's releasing a flamethrower. He's putting his car in space. And these are really awesome. But I do see your point when you talk about he was the first one to bring up, the whole AI situation. So I'd like to see, I mean, obviously I haven't listened to this audiobook. So what more leads you to this conclusion that nullifies the craziness of these other things? You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, dude, here you go. So if you look at the companies that he has been involved with and the companies that he started, whether you like it or not, let's talk about Tesla for a second. Whether you like it or not, we have a limited amount of fossil fuels. That's scientists agree that we're going to run out at some point. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it, but that does seem to be the case. We are eventually going to run out of that kind of stuff. And Tesla, in a market where like literally electric cars had been destroyed, like car manufacturers and oil companies basically put the hammer down on these things, he created a company that put electric cars on the map. And you cannot deny the fact that now electric cars are actually in the conversation. They're not necessarily mainstream. I mean, anyone can get one that wants one now. Years ahead of his time, he is now trying to solve a problem that we're going to have in the next couple of decades. And he's trying to, he really is concerned about the fact that we're going to have an energy crisis at some point unless we do some things. Here's another company he started, Solar City. I don't know if you've heard about this one.
I have
this
not.
One was this is a company I think is now part of Tesla, but it was its own company for a while. It's centered around making solar energy more mainstream. Again, in response to the fossil fuel thing. And so, like, he wanted to make it where solar panels were more ubiquitous. And again, it's in response to fossil fuels. I get the sense that he's trying to preserve this planet. But also, if you look at SpaceX, and he's now talking about colonizing Mars. Why colonize Mars? And here's why I think he's doing it. It's not because it makes sense financially. I honestly think it's because he is concerned about the planet. I think that he thinks he's doing this thing where he's trying to change it to where, like, we're using cleaner energy, we're using renewable energy, and if all else fails, let's all go to Mars.
Right?
Like, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but like that was the sense I got when I was reading this biography. If any of you have read this biography, I would love to hear your feedback and hear if that was the sense you got as well. Because he's somebody who is really concerned about that kind of stuff, and he has started companies to battle these kind of things. Now you say, why the flamethrower? Why did he put his car into space? These things are really flashy things. Well, Boring is a company that specializes in creating tunnels. So he's trying to help with transportation. This impossible thing, like he's trying to challenge the transportation industry with, I think it also has to do with hyperloops, which is a big thing that he's been talking about. He is taking on these impossible tasks and trying to take the human race forward, trying to create companies that preserve the human race in terms of like the pollution. Whether you agree with him or not that we're really at risk of destroying the planet, you have to admire the guy that's willing to do things that just seem impossible. Like, he takes on the hardest task, and you ask, well, why the flamethrower? Why the car in space? And I think it's because of his commercial brilliance. He knows that by doing these things, it gets people talking about his companies. It raises the stock value. It makes the company money so he can go after these crazy, ambitious visions. And, like, people are always going to talk about spaceships going into space, right?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
SpaceX. But not everyone is going to talk about that. But everyone has something to say about a car being in space. And now SpaceX is one of those brands that, like, now everyone knows about because of this one thing. And I think it's crazy. He's so altruistic, in my opinion. I think that even though I don't necessarily agree that we're at big of a risk as he says we are or whatever, you know, I have to admire the guy. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think I'm a little crazy thinking all this? Because I'm trying to remember what in the biography led me to those conclusions, but that was where I landed.
I mean, I definitely see what you're saying. I mean, because it's kind of one of those things. Selling these things and making more money, one is good for him because he can fund his projects more. But not only that, like, it draws awareness to these different projects, so we can actually continue to grow and do bigger and better things. I mean, I gotta say, you gotta admire the guy, right? Because, I mean, whether he's actually concerned for humanity or not, I mean, he's making choices that will help humanity. So even if it's about money for him, he's making smart business choices, right? That's gonna take him places and actually get a lot of attention and a lot of support. I mean, who doesn't want to go live on Mars, right? Like, that sounds really interesting to me. I don't know. I would do it in a heartbeat. If they were taking volunteers and I could get the opportunity, I would do it in a heartbeat. I wouldn't think twice about it. As long as I could take my family.
You would? Like, because I heard it's a one-way trip, though.
Yeah. Unload up the wife and kids in the minivan, and we'll drive on over there, and we'll get on the spaceship, and we'll go. Hopefully inside a Tesla, because that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Well, you could ride his Roadster around. I think it actually is going to Mars or around Mars or something. Yeah, he has figured out a way to make these crazy, ambitious visions that shouldn't even be possible at this day and age, possible and profitable. And maybe I'm off base by saying he's trying to protect the human race, but it seems like everything he goes after is, one, difficult, and two, good for the human race. All right, so next bit of news, Amazon has dropped off ads off their Prime phones. Now, I think I'm like the only person in the world who actually found this interesting, but this week Amazon has removed ads from their Prime phones. Now, if you remember right, Amazon had a phone that they created a couple years ago, and it was a massive flop. Didn't do well at all because it had their Fire OS on there, and it wasn't like an Android. It was based on Android, but it wasn't really Android, and people didn't like that. And it was a flop. So what they did after that was they didn't want to get out of the phone industry, so they made these partners with all these different carriers. And what they would do is they would sell their phones at a discount, but in exchange for them putting ads on the home screen. So you would get a nice phone for cheaper, but the trade-off was the ads. And now they've decided to take a step back. They are now removing the ads. This is for new and old purchases, by the way. So if you have purchased one of these phones, if you update your Amazon app or something, it should remove the ads. And instead, now the price of these phones that are discounted by a pretty large margin, some of them are going to go up $20, which I think is pretty fair.
So it makes me really curious. I mean, let's rewind a little bit here. When we talk about the original Amazon phone that had Fire OS on it and everything, I don't think it was a terrible idea. I think it probably would have caught on really well had it happened a lot sooner. But when you have markets like, Android and iOS that were already very prominent, and you have things like Windows not surviving hardly, and then plenty of other ones just falling off the face of the earth, it's such a hard market to try and bring something new into. And I feel like they were just way too late to the game to really try and get into that market. So when they switch over to these phones, I thought it was a smart idea because it was still a good way for them to make money, right? Because with these advertisements, it's getting people to buy more of their products, right? So the discount on the phone wasn't that big of a deal to them because they knew they'd make the money in the long run. But now that they're removing these ads and they're adding $20 on there, it makes me really interested into, what's in it for them. Are they recording people's data? Or, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are they doing that's making them money off this? They're not just giving you a deal for no reason here.
No, for real. That's what I'm having a hard time understanding. Because I don't know why they would just discount it for the heck of it. The only thing I can gather is you have to have a Prime membership to do this. And so they're just making this like a more appetizing thing for people who they want to get on Prime. But other than that, I don't know. Like, I would imagine maybe they're doing some data collection, but it's really hard to know. I don't know. I would be if I was going to buy one now, I would be very careful to read the privacy policy and figure out, like, what are they doing? Because it's not really clear. And if you look at their tablets, though, they're still doing the ads on their tablets. So they sell Fire OS tablets. There's in several sizes, and they still will offer you, I think, a $15 or $20 discount if you're willing to tolerate their ads. So they haven't removed them off those devices. So I'm not sure. I don't know what they're doing. It's really interesting. But they're just doing it for the phones. But part of me is just like, are they just going to kill these phones off? For me, like, Amazon was way too late to the phone game. And just like you just said, and now they've created the whole new market with the Echo Dot, and they're kind of owning the market. Google is challenging them quite a bit, and Apple just released their HomePod. But I think that really is where their focus needs to be, than home automation, because the phone thing, I think, is a distraction. They are not adding anything to these phones. They're not doing anything that's special other than just giving them at a discount.
And there's no way they're making good money off of it. That's the thing.
No,
so what's in it for them?
No, and like maybe they're selling in bulk and making like a few pennies off each one. I don't know. I don't get it.
Not worth it.
But yeah, I mean, the ads made sense to me. Even though, like, it's funny actually. Even though I'm like, the ads made sense to me, I was like, hey Leslie, your phone broke. Let me get you. Leslie's my wife, by the way. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna get you one of these Amazon phones that have ads on them. Would that be okay with you? And I was being dead serious, and she was like, why would I want ads on my phone? Like, she looked at me like I was like the stupidest person that ever lived, and which may or may not be true, but anyway, but she said she was like, no, I'm not doing the ads, and it makes sense. Like, I mean, it's your phone; it's something you use all the time. You can tolerate on a tablet, which is something you use maybe once a day, but on your phone, you don't have to deal with the ads. That makes a lot of sense to me, but I still don't understand why they're in the phone market to begin with.
I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's something they should just really let go and move on.
And also, just to note, if you update your Amazon offer app from the Google Play Store, that will ensure that the ads die on your Amazon phone if you have one of those. So that's how you do that. Hey, man, you got something awesome this week you want to tell me about?
So a while back, I heard about this awesome product called Analogue NT. And basically, they took the idea of the old Nintendo console and they reworked it and made it with like more of a modern design and made it really awesome and really cool looking. It was kind of pricey. They later came out with the NT Mini. So it was also a Nintendo system, but it was smaller, a little bit better of a price. But recently what they actually came out with is the Super NT. And what that is it's a Super Nintendo. It comes with 2 games. I can't remember the names off the top of my head. They were games I've personally never heard of. It was like Super Turrican or something like that. 1 and 2. I don't know. I've never heard of them, to be honest with you. But you can put your own cartridges in there. So as long as you have Super Nintendo cartridges, you can play it on this console. I thought that was pretty awesome.
So here's my I'm curious because I've seen these things before. I've seen stuff like, some that will take like Sega cartridges, and I imagine there's some for Super Nintendo and other things. Why are you interested in this one particularly?
So what I really like about this one, when they came out with the new Super Nintendo, just like when they came out with the new Nintendo, the classic editions, where they re-released it basically, and they sold it. They look like the old console. Right, so all they did was take the old design and rehash it, right? And then when you talk about like a lot of these other retro consoles that you can put different cartridges in, a lot of them still have kind of that retro look to it. They don't, nothing has that modern design, and that's one of the things I really like about this is they have different variants of it. They had like an all black version, a transparent version. Basically, all the things that we would have loved to have seen back in the day when we first got our Super Nintendo. You know, I mean, they didn't have anything like that, like a transparent version. Those weren't things that were even thought about. There wasn't transparent devices anywhere in your home. You know, for me, I think that's just got a really nice design to it. They've basically changed up the way we look at some of these retro consoles, that we don't necessarily have to keep that same look for that nostalgia. I mean, where we really have the nostalgia is playing those games, but trying to put a new modern spin on it, kind of make it a little flashier, I think is a really awesome idea.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It looks really clean. That actually looks pretty awesome. I like that they have a clear option, even though that hasn't really been my favorite style of thing. But that's really cool. And another thing I'm reading is actually it has an HDMI port, which I didn't know, and then and it also goes up to 1080p. Really, that's cool.
Yes.
And then apparently the audio is somehow improved. So basically you're getting to relive your childhood, but in today's standards. So you're getting closer to a today's standard.
Definitely. And the thing is, when you have, you know, like an old Super Nintendo console sitting in your entertainment center, you know, that looks great and all, but at the same time, it also looks old, you know, because it's that old style. When you have that more modern design, you know, because I like the look of the old Super Nintendo, but when you put that up against like a PS4 or an Xbox One, it looks so old and outdated.
Yeah, that's really neat, man. I'm not a big retro game fan, but that does. If I was gonna get one, might be the one. How much is it?
I think it's like $189.
A little pricey, but it looks like a really nice version. Yeah. So I'm sure if it's.
I love the idea of retro gaming, but then when I start doing it, it's so frustrating. Yeah.
I know, right? Not enough bugs and no DLC. It's lame. And microtransactions, you need those. It makes games better.
I just want to pay to win, please.
Yeah, could we just pay to win? Thank you. At least somebody said it, you know? No, that's the thing. That was frustrating about. Actually, I probably would pay to win some of those games because those games were hard. That's my biggest problem with retro games. The games used to be very hard. Now it's like, if you can't beat a game, that's just sad.
Yeah. No, definitely.
So we did something kind of cool. I was going to talk about last week, but the stuff with MoviePass came up. But we went to the Celebration of Harry Potter. This was an event at Universal Studios Orlando. I didn't know what to expect. We were just there. We were in town for a weekend, and we had a season pass. I was like, why not just stop by? You know, they're doing a cool event. I like Harry Potter. I didn't know what to expect, but it was kind of awesome, dude. Like, I don't know. Are you a Harry Potter fan at all?
I love Harry Potter. I'm not a big book reader, but as far as the movies, they were some of my favorite movies of all time.
For real. Yeah, I am right there with you. I've listened to the audiobooks. I never actually stopped and read them, but I've also watched the movies, and I think they're really awesome, man. They just take you to another place. But my expectations were really low, and I honestly, after going there, I wish I took my camera with me, the G7 or just some camera, because I have some video clips, but it's from Leslie's phone. I wish I took a nice camera because there was a lot of cool stuff going on. Like, it's a little mini convention. They had a bunch of booths and interactive experiences. They had 2 different areas where you could just kind of walk around and see different things. So in one of the areas, they had a VR experience, which I was like, oh, that's awesome. So they had one area was for Samsung Gear, and they had an Oculus. And I'd actually never used an Oculus before. And so I got to try out Oculus for the first time in this thing. And basically, you were Newt from the new Harry Potter movies. What are they called?
Oh, the Fantastical Beasts?
Yeah, the Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts, something like that.
Yeah, and you were able, so it had like these different rooms and stuff, and then you would you would control a wand and you could cast spells, and you had like 5 minutes to just kind of explore around and see these cool beasts and stuff. It was really neat. The VR, Oculus is pretty good. I haven't tried Vive yet either. I had done the Samsung VR, that's pretty good. But it was a pretty cool experience. Audible was there as well, which is kind of weird. Like, why would an audiobook company be at a convention like this? But it's actually kind of awesome. They had like this thing set up where like everyone had these iPads, and you would compete with each other. You would listen to audio clips from the books, and you would have to click which book the audio clip came from, and then they would give you a score based on how fast you answered and how accurate you were, and then the person who had the highest score at the end of the day got some big grand prize.
Oh wow!
I was terrible. I got the first question right, and then I missed the other 4, so I was like, wow. But it was really cool, and they did a good job making it really fun. Like, I mean, how much can you really do with audiobooks? But there was like an announcer guy. He was like really fun and engaging. It was a lot of fun. They also had their Hogwarts Mystery game. I don't know if you heard about this, and I hadn't until I got there. But there was a game that they're developing for Android and iOS. It's going to be on a phone, and I thought it was their version of Pokemon Go because I'd heard they're doing like a Harry Potter Pokemon Go, but this looks like more like an RPG.
Oh,
and
really?
I don't know if it's free to play. I don't know the stuff, but it's kind of cool. It's called Hogwarts Mystery Game, and it was kind of neat. They gave you an envelope, and so I got my invitation to join Hogwarts. By the way,
Oh wow!
Don't be jealous.
Check that out.
Yeah, no, it was actually kind of cool. It was a neat little thing. Little tidbit. They also had a GIF booth, so basically, like, you could create a GIF, and then they would text you the GIF. That was kind of cool. They had a bunch of panels. What stunk was the day that they were doing like, there was actors there. They had the Weasley twins there.
Oh wow! Did you get to meet them?
If you count seeing them on stage, and there's a couple, like 3,000 people between me and them meeting them, then yeah, I met them.
So you guys are pretty close now, then, is what you're saying? Like best friends?
I follow them on Facebook.
I mean, that's enough to be friends, I think.
Yeah, they were there. Tonks, if you know, that was the werewolf's wife or girlfriend. Yeah. And also Jen Weasley was there. The Harry Potter's who Harry Potter ended up marrying, the little sister in the books. So she was there, and so all 4 of those actors were there, and they had a bunch of people that were involved with the movies. They had like a concert thing, so they were showing clips of the movies, and then they had an orchestra playing the music from the movies as you're watching the movie.
Oh, wow.
Like a live orchestra. Yeah, it was really cool. I'll be honest, though, it was kind of, the idea of it was a lot cooler than actually seeing it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. They apparently do these shows everywhere. If you're a big Harry Potter fan, I'm sure you'll love it, but like I was like, I appreciated it for the first couple of songs, and I just was like, okay, I'm gonna go ride a roller coaster.
That's enough. Let's move on.
But it was pretty cool, yeah. They had a lot of just really neat stuff, and there was a whole area we didn't even get to explore. And there was 2 panels I saw. So we got to see a special effects panel, and it was really cool. By the way, like being part of like YouTube and like trying to learn how to record things, just seeing some like the behind the scenes stuff of how these people do these movies, really awesome. Do you remember that scene in the first movie with all the envelopes flying into the house? Like he's trying to like keep the envelopes away from Harry Potter.
Yes.
And then like there's this moment where there's just envelopes everywhere. Like
Yeah.
I always thought that was done with CGI. And apparently they did that for real. They built a thing that fed the envelopes into down the fireplace, through the front door. That was a for real thing. And if you go back and watch the movie, that's why it still looks real, is because it was real.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. Like, you watch that and you just assume, you're like, there's no way they actually sent all those letters flying. Because why would they do that?
It's like, that would be so much work. No, they actually did it for real. And, like, it's honestly, like, practical effects age so much better than special effects.
Yeah.
And, like, if you went back and watched that today and that was done in special effects, it would look so fake. But that's why it looks real, is they didn't do it that way.
That's really neat.
But those are cool. We also saw a panel of, like, the costumes. They were, like, the person who did all the costumes for all the different characters. And it was really neat just hearing the way that they picked the different things. Like, Bellatrix Lestrange, I think is her name. Like, she wanted people to be really uneasy when they saw her. And that's why her costume looks, like, ripped up, and, like, it looks like she's an intense person. When she's by herself, she does some weird stuff, like,
yeah.
And, like, it was cool. Like, it's so neat to seeing, like, how all these things, like the special effects, the costumes, the acting, all these things culminate into a great movie. And if you are lacking in just one of those things, if one of those things isn't quite up to snuff, like, the audience just doesn't care. It's not something the audience is going to be able to really relate to or to like. And it's really interesting to see a lot of the behind the scenes. I would definitely recommend, if anyone is interested in going to see Celebration of Harry Potter next year, apparently it's a yearly thing they do, since they have like the Hogwarts area and all that stuff. really cool. Like, honestly, I think me and Leslie want to go next year if we get season passes next year. But I definitely recommend it, man. It was a lot of fun. It actually makes me want to go to that convention you were talking about, AwesomeCon.
Yes, that's actually coming up at the end of March.
Yeah, I mean, you keep talking about maybe doing that. I'd have to fly up there in Maryland. By the way, I'm in Georgia. Mikey's in Maryland, so that's...
Yeah, and AwesomeCon is in DC. If you guys don't know about it, you should check it out. And if it's something you're going to and you like, comment out to us if you want us to go there and meet us, and maybe we'll come.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If I know there's gonna be some people there that want to meet us, and I will. I'm not gonna promise anything, but I'll try to be there for sure.
If you guys comment and say that you want us there, I guarantee you I can make him come up and go to it. I can promise that. I can make it happen.
You've already done this. Like, you've already been guilting me about it. I do want to go, though. It does sound really awesome. Last thing I want to say about the Harry Potter thing. Guess what the longest line was? Because there was lines to all these different exhibits. Any guesses?
What?
The longest line was the line to shop and buy stuff. I kid you not.
Really?
Yeah. I was, like, looking at all the different lines, and I was like, what is that one? Like, I couldn't even tell where these people were going. And I asked somebody, and they said, "Oh, it's for shopping. There's like this little shopping area that like you had to wait into a line to buy things from. It was insane. Apparently, they had some special edition wand or something that you could only get there.
See, that's what I was about to ask, because otherwise, like, why are you buying? It had to be special stuff that you could only get at this convention or something.
For real, yeah. I was really confused about that, but apparently, people wanted that special edition wand or something. But anyway,
that's crazy.
We also saw some really cool cosplay, and I didn't even tell you the best part. The best part of going during the celebration of Harry Potter wasn't anything to do with Harry Potter. The lines for the rides, for the most part, were amazing.
Oh, yeah?
We did the single rider. Do you remember when we went to Escape from Gringotts, which is like their biggest ride in the Universal area? At one point, when we were there, right after Christmas, which is like peak season, it was 4 hours at one point, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like ridiculous. Like
and that was for the regular line. It was like an hour and a half for the fast pass people.
Right, yeah. It was insane. And dude, I kid you not, we jumped in. This wasn't like when the park opened. It was several hours later. We just went through the single rider line, 5 minutes. Kid you not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. Like, I know you're going to hate me for that, but like we rode everything. We were only there for like a day and a half.
Now, to be fair, we did kind of jump the 4-hour line and get the VIP treatment there.
Yeah. Somebody said, well, my son was really wanting to.
Okay, so it was my oldest, Benjamin. It was his birthday, and he really wanted to ride the ride before we left for the day. And I may have kind of played that up a little bit, and some lady, I guess, took pity on us. And next thing you know, there's a party of like 12 of us going to ride this ride for one kid's birthday.
It's what he would want.
Yeah,
is these adults to ride with him. And what was funny is that once you got away with it once, not that you got away with it, like I know you did it for your son, and we were waiting in crazy lines, so I'm not gonna fault you for that. But I thought it was funny after you did that once. How many more times did you try that at different lines? And it like almost always worked. Oh, it was my son. Like it was the Despicable Me line was the other one you tried it at.
Yeah.
And you were able to get, and that was one that was more strict about the line too. And
yeah, they were very strict. I think they even cut off Fast Pass for a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's amazing where you can get when you just talk nicely to people, and I don't know.
And tell them it's your son's birthday.
Yeah.
Which was true. It actually
was completely the truth. It was actually his birthday.
Yeah, that's like one of the reasons why you guys were going. And it was also y'all's anniversary too. Which
yes.
One last thing I want to mention about Universal is not anything to do with any of that stuff. But do you remember that guy in the Men in Black line?
Oh my goodness, Rick? He was hilarious.
He was amazing, wasn't he? Dude, we jump in the Men in Black line. We only went once. Guess who was there?
Oh wow, was he really?
Yeah, Rick, dude. He was there again, and we record. Like every time I see him, I was like, dude, this guy is amazing. I will put a video clip of this guy. Basically, he does like a little performance before you shoot aliens in the Men in Black ride, and It is amazing. I might be selling a little too hard. You might have to be there to really appreciate it, but I'll put a clip at the end of this video to this guy's performance. It makes it so much fun. He's just awesome.
The thing about it is not just that he has a little performance, because a lot of the different shows and stuff, they'll play the role or whatever, but like you can tell like he actually gets into the role. Like he's not just doing his job. He's genuinely enjoying his job. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and he does it like we've seen him do it like 3 times, because every time we went there he was doing it. And I mean, every time he does a amazing performance. He never disappoints. Like he's awesome. The guy's name is Rick. So if you happen to go to Universal and he's a kind of an older gentleman, he's got gray hair, and you see Rick, just say that you're awesome. Just tell him, like, I heard that you are awesome. Just tell him that. I would love to get that to him, because he you need to encourage people like that. When someone's excelling that much at a job that could really suck the life out of you, it was incredible. So definitely check out that video at the end if you're curious what he does. But it's incredible. Or just go see the performance yourself. If you're ever in Universal, go to the Men in Black area. If there's a guy named Rick in the front, you're in for a treat. All right, so we got some questions and comments. Actually, that's not true. We have just some comments this week. So I mentioned last week that we get some of the nicest comments. And so this one, this guy's named Son of Jay. This video pops up out of nowhere. I clicked it without checking your channel out, and I must say that after watching the whole vid, I was shocked to see you only having 2K subscribers. Really high quality video and commentary here. I just want to say thank you, Son of Jay. I get some really nice comments, but I also got a different comment this week. I don't want to repeat this guy's name because he's got a poopy word in his name, so it's dumb bleep loser is his name, and he said your comedy is unbearable. Period. That was it.
Sounds like a real positive influence.
Yeah, so they just wanted to stop there and anyway, I actually really laughed when I saw this. I thought it was really funny. But it's kind of hard to take a guy that uses his screen name as dumb bleep loser seriously.
Right.
It's like, okay. But my comedy's not for everybody, and it's more about the reviews and the content, but it's good. I don't mind getting that kind of feedback. It used to bother me getting that kind of feedback, and I do get it from time to time. It's good. There was one time I did a joke in one of my videos where it was like a bathroom joke, and somebody said, "Hey, I love your videos normally, but honestly, that joke I didn't really like that joke." And I'd never done bathroom humor before. And in my head, that was hilarious. My wife thought it was really funny, but I actually really appreciated that he stopped and said, "Hey, dude, that's not why I watch your channel. I like your more subtle humor. I like your more like under the radar humor." And I was like, you know what, you're right. Like, I had never done that joke before, and like maybe bathroom jokes are funny to me and my wife and other people, but maybe that's not really the best thing for YouTube, and maybe there's some other comedy and go. So I appreciate that kind of comment. I don't really have anything I could do with your comedy is unbearable.
Maybe he wants more bears. That's what he meant. Like, it's unbearable. There's not enough bears.
So just have a bunch of like Winnie the Pooh and the bears that do the cotton. Yeah, just have them pop up. Okay, yeah. That.
Maybe we need a bear to tell some jokes.
I thought he was saying that my comedy was bad, but you're saying he just wants more bears.
Maybe he wants a bear to tell some jokes.
This makes sense now. Thank you. You've cleared this up.
So I got to point out one thing that I noticed about last week's episode that always bothers me, and it's not just like on our video, it's just in general. I saw somebody put a thumbs down, but then there's no comment. And I don't mind if you don't like it, you don't like it, but it's like you felt the need to put a thumbs down, but then like you've got nothing to say. So did you really dislike it? I feel like if I'm gonna, for me personally, and everyone has their different opinions, but for me personally, if I feel the need to like let you know that I didn't like it, I feel like I gotta say something. Like, why didn't I like it? What was wrong with it? Was it annoying? Was it, Mikey's audio quality that was terrible? Was it Titus's hair? I don't know. You gotta put in there.
Whoa! That could not be it.
No. People love your hair.
They do.
But yeah, I'm sure of it.
You're not just saying that?
No, no.
I
I
mean,
mean, I don't think they would ever comment telling you the truth. I mean, telling you that they don't like your hair.
what? Did you say something?
Hmm?
I didn't catch what you said.
No,
Did
I
you?
didn't. I didn't.
I thought it sounded like you were slipping something in there, but
No,
I didn't quite
no,
catch.
I don't.
You didn't?
No,
Okay, my
I don't
bad.
know. I mean, not everybody likes your hair. It's fine.
I totally agree with you. I do know some people just don't like leaving negative comments, but they want to show you that they don't like your video. I don't know, but that's still kind of like a really abrasive thing to do, is just not to like or to dislike a video. So I honestly, I really appreciate when people give me constructive feedback, even if it's feedback like your comedy is unbearable. That's
Yeah.
not that anyone would ever say that to me, but that even tells me if I'm getting a lot of comments where people are saying my comedy is like really cringeworthy, then I need to maybe change some things. But honestly, this is the first time someone has said that that I can remember about my comedy. But it's just one of those things. You can't make everyone happy. And I did also notice that dislike, and you actually probably would have been a lot more discouraged if you saw when it came in. It came in within the first hour of the video releasing, and there was no likes at that point. And I was just like, oh no, everyone hates the podcast. Everyone hates what we're doing. And I'm like, oh no, I made a mistake. And I'm just like going through these things through my head. And then I'm like, and then, people start liking it, and people clearly are watching it and stuff. So, I know I understand the podcast is not for everybody, but it is helpful if people, if you guys have feedback, let us know. Like if there's something we can do better. All right. One other comment that I want to point out, and again, not a question. This is from David Robles, and I'll put some reference to this. This was on the Amazon Fire tablet video. He said, 2 gigs of RAM is not what I expect in a tablet in 2018. I found this comment really interesting because I'm trying to understand where he's coming from. Because on one end of the spectrum, I understand what he's saying. In this day and age, like 2 gigs of RAM is not enough for anything. Like should have more RAM. 4 gigs of RAM is like minimum for phones. That's what it should be. But a lot of phones even now have 2 gigs of RAM. And the problem is like, here's where I take issue with this comment. Number one, the Amazon Fire tablet is like an amazing deal. And a tablet of that price, only having 2 gigs of RAM, or having up to 2, to me, that's an amazing deal. Because 2 gigs of RAM is plenty for that price tag, which is like $150. And I think that's plenty for that. But here's the big thing. The tablet market is dying. And like the only way companies are selling tablets right now is if they are willing to slash their prices. Even Apple is having to slash their prices on their tablets. They have a $329 iPad now. And that one, guess what? How much RAM it has, Mikey?
2 gigs?
It has 2 gigs.
Yeah.
And a tablet that is now half the price of that one also has 2 gigs. And so I understand his point. Like, I would like to have more RAM. But I think in this day and age, like with tablets dying, like they're just trying to figure out how to make these things cheap. And RAM is just one of those corners that they cut. I would like more RAM, though. What do you think about this, man?
I mean, I have to agree. I definitely would like more RAM, but I mean, I have to agree with you. Tablets are dying off. They're just not as popular. Now that we can get laptops for a lot lighter and a lot smaller, you don't really need that whole tablet feature. I mean, one of the main reasons you had that is because carrying around a laptop was so big and bulky, But now that you can get a MacBook Air, and like my wife has a MacBook Air, and even with her protective case on it, I feel like feels like the same weight as my iPad Pro. So it's like, why have this iPad Pro when I could just carry around the MacBook Air?
Yeah, it's weird. You kind of felt like tablets were eating into laptops, but there are some things that like you need a laptop for. Like this podcast. I couldn't do that on an iPad. I mean, I guess you could, but like it would be a pain. There's a lot of things that are just easier to do on a laptop. And then on your phone. Like there's just not a lot of room for tablets nowadays. And, people, they don't want to spend $500 on a tablet anymore. They're done doing that. Like the iPad Pro, maybe. But when they're going to spend their money on a device, they're going to spend it on their phone or they're going to spend it on a computer. There's not much room for the in-the-middle device, I think. So I still think the Amazon Fire tablet is an amazing deal. It's got really good performance. Amazon did an amazing stereo speakers, 2 gigs of RAM, pretty fast processor, like, and a 1080p screen. It's an amazing deal. Like, I don't have any complaints over the 2 gigs of RAM. I for that price tag, I could not expect them to put any more RAM in it. But I do get your point. But I just think that's just how it's going to be. If the tablet market is going to survive, they have to figure out ways to cut corners to make it cheaper to where people are willing to shell out the cash. I'm trying to have a normal Search for Awesome video out this week. I teased it last week, but it'll be a comparison of the entry-level Jaybirds versus some very popular but much cheaper Bluetooth headphones off Amazon. I'm really interested to show you guys my results of that. It's going to be a cool video. A lot of my time has been spent on trying to get this podcast uploaded to different things. That's why I didn't get to it this week, but I'm going to try to have that this following week. And next week, I didn't tell you this, Mikey, but next week we're going to be talking about our favorite podcast. This is an episode that we discussed having a long time ago, and that might even be a two-parter. So we're going to be spending some time with some news, and then after that, we'll be talking about our favorite podcasts. So definitely get ready for that. So I'm really excited about that. We're going to be definitely... It's funny. I remember you telling me, or you asking me, because you weren't in the podcast there for a little bit, and you're like, what are some podcasts I should listen to? And like, how many podcasts did I send you?
You know, I asked him, and I knew I was going to get like good information. That's why I asked Titus to begin with. But I'm expecting him to send me like 3, maybe 4 different podcasts. Well, first he sends me like a list of like 6 of them, right? I'm like, okay, cool. This is a good place to start. He goes, and that's if you're into this kind of stuff. But if you're into this kind of stuff, you should check out these. He sends me like 8 more. By the end of it, I literally had like 22 podcasts sitting in my messages. And I'm like, I don't know where to begin. I don't know what to do here. And I ended up picking one and going with it. I think we'll save that for next week.
And you loved it, right?
And
we'll talk about that one.
I actually
it was a great
loved
podcast.
it. It was still probably one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about these. And I have a lot of different tastes and interests. And so if you are at all interested in podcasts, which I imagine you are, if you're listening to this, I definitely have some good recommendations for you. I know Mikey will have some good recommendations for you. So we'll be talking about that next week. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Search for Awesome podcast. And I guess we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Hi, how's everybody doing today? All right, now that I've got your undivided attention. Hi, how's everybody doing today? Much better. I'd like to welcome everybody to the universe and you. Yes, you, ma'am, right there. Welcome. Hi. My name's Rick, and I'll be your guide as we explore the universe and you exhibit to try to answer the question: are we alone in this galaxy or not? No. Ooh, opinions. I like opinions. You'll get your answer to that question in just a few minutes, and you may be surprised. But first, we're going to start off with a brief audio presentation. Then we're going to follow that up with a tour of the universe and you. Yes, you. No, not me, man. Y-O-U. That would be you right there. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You having a good day so far?
So good.
Excellent. All right, folks, we're going to have a great time now. The 3-hour tour is fun, educational, and full of surprises. Are you ready? Yeah. All right, here we go. And if you're interested in the 4-hour tour, it does include snacks. Think about it. We'll be back in just a minute.
Welcome to the universe and you. We hope you enjoy this classic adventure into the unknown, relocated from the 1964 New York World Expo.
Since the beginning of recorded time, man has searched the cosmos, reached deep into the secrets of the universe for evidence of life from other galaxies. Are we alone? Join us now as we take you on a fantastic
Universe and You program terminated. Access granted for MIB training.
Hurry up, rookies. You haven't got all day.
Everybody in the elevator, quickly.
Come on, hustle. Time to wait. Moving or losing. Doors are closing.
All right, rookies, now you'll be dropping climbing training facility, but don't worry. It only takes 3 seconds to get down there. So, hang on tight and scream if you have to. Oh, and be very careful down there. The aliens are everywhere.
Sam here. Sorry about this funny theme park nonsense. Welcome to MIB Agent 3. We'll find out if you're the best of the best. But
What took you so long? I said there'd be surprises, didn't I? Good luck with your training, rookies. You're gonna need it, especially you. Now move it. Move it, 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 move it.
Go, 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 go. We gotta get the training.